Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are our top stories.
Hamas is expected to release the fourth group of Israeli hostages as the ceasefire deal is set to expire later today.
Can an extended ceasefire lead to the end of the Israel-Hamas war? Find out what leaders from NATO, the EU, and multiple countries now argue.
A Christmas tree festival in Wisconsin isn't all holiday cheer. A Republican congressman is offended by a satanic Christmas tree that has gone up in his district.
The dangers of artificial intelligence. The U.S., Britain, and others now taking unprecedented steps for AI safety. We bring you the details.
A deadly storm impacting millions of people in Europe. As Russia and Ukraine keep fighting each other, Mother Nature is attacking both of them simultaneously.
Argentina's newly elected president, Javier Milei, is on a 2-day private visit to the United States. What's on his agenda?
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Hello and welcome to NTD News Today.
We have insights and perspectives on the stories shaping our world.
Breaking news, in-depth analysis, and inspiration to power your day. Now for our top stories. We begin with the latest updates on the Israel-Hamas war. The truce between Israel and Hamas is approaching an end later today.
We're expecting the fourth group of hostages to be released.
The Egyptian government said Israel and Hamas are close to a deal to extend the truce by 2 more days. Under the deal, Hamas would release 10 hostages each day in exchange for 30 Palestinians from Israeli prisons each day. That's a ratio of 3 Palestinians for 1 Israeli.
The Egyptian government also said Hamas is expected to release the fourth group of hostages, 11 Israelis, today. In exchange, Israel will release 33 Palestinian prisoners.
The United States, Qatar, and Egypt helped mediate the ceasefire and hostage deal. Pressure is growing to extend the deal as the original truce is set to expire, as we said, by the end of today.
Hamas so far has released 62 hostages out of the roughly 240 it took. That means roughly 180 remain. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he will press ahead with the war after the ceasefire expires.
Some international leaders want to extend the 4-day ceasefire in Gaza. They're meeting in Spain for a forum today. Some suggest a ceasefire could end the war.
I call for an extension of the pause. This would allow for much needed relief to the people of Gaza and the release of more hostages.
But much more is needed to alleviate the dire situation in Gaza and to find a way out of the current crisis.
Germany's foreign minister also said she wants the ceasefire to be extended. She expressed hope that it would lead to a political process in the region.
Israel previously said there was a ceasefire in place already, but that Hamas broke it on October 7th by killing 1,400 Israeli civilians.
It says another ceasefire wouldn't end the war because Hamas would simply break it again in a few months or years. Israel argues eradicating Hamas saves the most civilian lives long term.
Sending aid to Israel only on certain conditions. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan now commenting on the issue. That's after President Biden recently indicated he's considering setting standards for America's partner in the Middle East. Calls for conditional aid come as a divide within the Democratic Party grows. Some lawmakers strongly support Israel, while others are worried about Palestinian civilians. Some criticize the U.S. for sending aid to Israel, saying America is supporting the wrong side of the war.
On Sunday, Sullivan was asked if the U.S. will now start sending aid to Israel only on certain conditions. He didn't rule it out, saying the administration will continue to implement policies which he says generate results. Also on Sunday, Republican Congressman Mike Turner discussed the idea of conditional aid.
He was asked by NBC if he'd vote for a bill implementing standards.
Well, I think the White House has been clear, and I think U.S. policy has been clear of lessening the Palestinian casualties that are not Hamas. Well, I wouldn't propose it, but I think it does accurately reflect U.S. policy.
The congressman also commented on aid packages currently in the works. The White House previously proposed a bill worth over $100 billion. It would fund Israel and Ukraine and also allocate funds to the border and other issues.
Meanwhile, House Republicans proposed a $14 billion bill, which doesn't include funding for Ukraine, only for Israel. This as Republicans say they don't want to fund both countries together.
Meanwhile, Democrats say they won't pass any bill which doesn't fund both countries together. Turner says it's unlikely the government will pass any funding before the end of the year. Senate Leader Chuck Schumer says he'll bring a national security package to the floor this week that would provide aid to Israel and Ukraine. The package also may include money for border security. Schumer addressed these priorities in a letter to colleagues released yesterday.
Schumer also says he'll bring up a resolution to temporarily change the Senate rules. It would allow members to bypass a current hold on military promotions.
Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville has blocked promotions over the Pentagon's abortion policy. It uses taxpayer money to pay abortion travel expenses for service members.
Attackers were thwarted in their attempt to seize an Israeli-linked tanker yesterday. A U.S. Navy warship responded to a distress call from a commercial tanker in the Gulf of Aden. It was seized by armed individuals. U.S. officials said yesterday the vessel is now safe. The tanker was identified as the Central Park by the vessel's company. Officials did not identify the attackers, and no group immediately claimed responsibility.
The USS Mason, with help from Allied ships, demanded the attackers release the tanker. 5 armed individuals tried to escape on a fast boat, but were chased by the U.S. warship, and they eventually surrendered.
The statement added that 2 ballistic missiles were fired from Houthi-controlled parts of Yemen toward the general direction of the USS Mason and the tanker, but they landed about 10 nautical miles away from them and caused no damage or injuries.
The incident is the latest in a series of attacks in Middle Eastern waters since the onset of the Israel-Hamas conflict. A manhunt is underway. Authorities are searching for a man who shot and wounded 3 college students of Palestinian descent in Vermont. Investigators suspect the shooting was a hate-motivated crime.
Authorities say a man with a pistol shot the 3 20-year-olds Saturday evening on a street near the University of Vermont in Burlington and then ran away.
Police say 2 of the victims are U.S. citizens and the 3rd is a legal U.S. resident. They added that 2 students were wearing the traditional checkered kafia scarf at the time of the attack. The shooting comes amid a rise in anti-Islamic and anti-Semitic incidents reported around the U.S. after the Hamas terrorist attack on October 7th.
In a statement, Burlington's police chief said, "In this charged moment, no one can look at this incident and not suspect that it may have been a hate-motivated crime."
Police say all 3 remained under medical care on Sunday. 2 were in stable conditions while 1 suffered much more serious injuries. The 3 went to universities in different states but were gathered in Burlington for the Thanksgiving holiday at the home of 1 student's family.
Elon Musk is in Israel today to meet the country's top officials. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took him around the ruins of an Israeli kibbutz near the Gaza border. Israel said it had reached an agreement in principle with the tech entrepreneur regarding the use of its SpaceX Starlink communications in the Gaza Strip.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog also scheduled an afternoon meeting with Musk. According to Herzog's office, they will be joined by relatives of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. The 2 will also discuss rising anti-Semitism online.
The visit comes following controversy over some of Musk's replies on social media posts, some interpreted as anti-Semitic. At least a dozen major brands halted ad spending last week, including Disney, IBM, Fox Sports, and the European Commission.
Musk denies the accusations of endorsing anti-Semitism.
Today is day 4 of the 4-day truce between Israel and Hamas. The terror group has been releasing hostages for Palestinian prisoners held in Israel, many of whom have been accused of attempted murder. Let's see how it's going with Aryeh Lightstone, former special envoy for the Abraham Accords and author of Let My People Know. Aryeh Lightstone, thank you for joining us again. talk to us about the roller coaster of the hostage release process over the past 4 days. Did Hamas hold up its end of the deal, and how did it all play out?
So, first of all, Hamas is still the group that murdered over 1,200 people, raped women, and beheaded children. So when people are concerned how the deal with them will go, it would go exactly how you would anticipate it going. They are not a trustworthy adversary. They're not a moral adversary. So what they agreed to up until the very last moment, and even until it happens, is not likely that you can have any trust with them whatsoever. So each day has involved enormous negotiations. Credit to the President of the United States of America, Egypt, and Qatar for trying to keep Hamas to its word. And right now there have been, dozens of Israelis who are now back home, and we should celebrate that. At the very same time, there are now tens of dozens of convicted terrorists who are now released back into their homes without any preconditions on their ability to go out and recommit terror. So it's a very conflicting time in Israel.
And Daria, in your mind, how has the media response to this process been?
The media in general, with the exception of a few platforms like yours, have served their role as useful idiots on behalf of Hamas. What they've done is praised Hamas for how beautifully they've treated these people, which means they kidnapped them from their homes. They kept them without real food and water and sunlight and connectivity to their families. Many of them don't even know that their other family members were murdered. And now because they come home and they are waving, because they are instructed to wave because they have relatives or friends who are still captives, that suddenly Hamas is being praised for their humanitarian treatment of women and children. And then the media will make another completely and totally immoral comparison that Israel is releasing women and children in exchange for receiving back women and children. Just to be very clear, who the women and, quote, children that Israel is releasing are people convicted of attempted murder and attempted and sometimes successful terrorism. These are not innocent people snatched from their homes in the middle of the night. These are actual people who have tried to perpetrate murder and terrorism.
And Aryeh, tell us about the hostages released so far and how they've been received by Israel.
I mean, everybody's heart is warm. The enormous excitement, but every single, and it brings me almost tears when I think about this, every family member who has welcomed one of their loved ones back after not seeing them for more than 50 days has said that their joy is tempered by the fact that they know that there are other family members who are not yet returned. You can imagine that, having your child or your sibling or your parent coming back after that's the only thing you think about, and having the presence of mind to know that your joy cannot be complete because others do not have your warmth at that moment of having a loved one's embrace. I mean, it is truly the Jewish people, the people of Israel have become one people right now, and that is very heartwarming to see.
Now, Israel has said it would extend the ceasefire for 1 day for every 10 hostages, additional hostages released by Hamas. What are we expecting to happen today and then in the coming days?
So I think that Hamas is enjoying not being killed, because Hamas is very good at targeting innocent women and children. They are not particularly good at fighting against an actual army. So I think that they are taking advantage of this moment. They have their ammunition, if you can use that word, is the fact that they have the kidnapped hostages, and they will release them on a 10 per day basis in order to be able to rearm or to rehide or to get their leaders to escape through tunnels and through Egypt. So I anticipate 5-6 more days of an extended ceasefire, with hopefully that means 50 to 60 more innocent people coming back to Israel. Israel must, as the West must, stand with Israel in renewing its battle as soon as that ceasefire is done, because you cannot live with Hamas on your border. It would be an ultimate betrayal to these people who have suffered so much already.
All right, Aryeh Lightstone, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Police are warning about iPhone's latest system update. Authorities say the new feature could pose a safety hazard, especially for children.
And a lake effect snow warning. More than a foot of snow is expected in the Lake Ontario and Lake Erie regions starting Monday. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
Stay tuned to get this free 5-piece ultra nonstick bakeware set from Gotham Steel. Are you tired of pans that burn and lids that don't fit? Worse yet, they're a nightmare to clean. You need a new set, but prices are so high it's obscene. Well, now there's a brand new professional cookware set that's ultra durable and non-stick. These pans are super slick, and they can be yours for our lowest price ever. Introducing Gotham Steel, chef-tested cookware designed to make family meals with no sticking and easy cleanup every time. Gotham Steel is made with cast aluminum and coated with Ticerama, a fusion of ultra-durable titanium and super slick ceramic. This cookware comes with vented glass lids and is oven rated up to 500 degrees, so bake meals in the oven that come out perfect every time. Even use metal utensils with no scratching. Plus, the entire set is PFOA free and dishwasher safe. Other professional cookware sets can cost up to $400, but we have a factory direct deal for you. You can get the Gotham Steel 12-piece set, not for $400 or even $300, but for just 5 easy payments of $49.99. But wait, order right now and we'll drop one payment. That's just 4 easy payments of $49.99. This is nonstick cookware that we know you'll love. That's why we're guaranteeing it for a full 10 years. We'll even include our self-draining fry basket, stainless steel steamer insert, and steamer rack, a $50 value absolutely free. And there's even more. As a special gift, you'll get our 5-piece Gotham Steel bakeware set. The fast, easy, ultra nonstick way to bake your favorite desserts. No grease or oil needed. Together, they're a $110 value. Yours free. That's an incredible 20-piece cookware set, plus free shipping on your entire order. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-278-6025 or go to gothamset.com. Again, that's 1-800-278-6025 or order online at gothamset.com.
According to Marx, everything must be seen through the lens of oppressor and oppressed. Our property rights have continued to get weaker. The threat of these takings is no longer just for public use, but also for better use. This means that the government can't force the exchange of property from one private citizen to another private citizen. Now, this is nowhere near the Founding Fathers' intentions. We now have a record share of Americans that have never been married, I being one of them. In fact, the median age of a first marriage has never been higher. Now, you may be thinking this is only affecting single adults. Well, not exactly. According to Pew Research, 1 in 4 parents living with their child are unmarried. And let's take a look at how many children are currently living with either one parent or no parent.
Welcome back. President Biden is launching a White House Council on Supply Chain Resilience today.
He's set to announce more than 30 new actions to strengthen critical supply chains.
That's an effort to keep the pandemic-era consumer goods shortages from ever happening again. The council is made up of senior White House officials and cabinet members.
Also today, Biden is announcing that he is invoking the Defense Production Act amid drug shortages. The move will permit $35 million of investment in the manufacturing of key medicines.
Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley has qualified for 21 state ballots.
In polls, Haley is trailing far behind the frontrunner, former President Donald Trump, and close behind Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
The former South Carolina governor has depicted herself as an alternative candidate. Her campaign argues that she's the best choice to beat incumbent Biden in the general election.
Haley served as Trump's ambassador to the United Nations. The January 15th Iowa caucuses will launch the Republican primary.
New Hampshire voters will head to the polls January 23rd. South Carolina's primary will take place on February 24th.
Super Tuesday is set for March 5th. Voters nationwide will cast their ballots in the general election on November 5th.
Former Kansas Governor Jeff Collier is endorsing former President Trump for re-election. Collier voiced his support in a Newsweek column last week following a visit to Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. Collier endorsed the former president's promise to lower health care costs and drug prices. He added that a new Trump term would also see a speedier medical treatments and protection of Medicare. According to Collier, Trump would also remove red tape in research and development of new and alternative medical treatments. The former governor also supports Trump based on his immigration policies. He said that the American people deserve a president who's committed to securing the nation's borders and ending the ongoing opioid crisis.
A Republican congressman is criticizing a satanic Christmas tree that has gone up in his district.
I think it's impossible to overstate how offensive this is to Christians. It would be in quite, a little sense, the same thing as waving a Hamas flag inside of a synagogue.
The National Railroad Museum approved the installation in suburban Green Bay.
Representative Mike Gallagher discussed the issue with Fox News on Sunday. He said the museum told concerned parents that the Christmas tree is an educational opportunity for kids.
The Satanic Temple of Wisconsin's tree was among over 60 on display. The museum festival of trees will run through December. And the White House is encouraging Americans to embrace their inner child this holiday season. It's part of the White House's 2023 holiday decor.
At an event officially unveiling this year's theme, First Lady Jill Biden is expected to tell everyone to remember how they saw the world as a child. The White House is decked out in nearly 15,000 feet of ribbon, 350 candles, and more than 34,000 ornaments.
Throughout the complex, there are 98 Christmas trees. In total, more than 140,000 holiday lights decorate the trees, garlands, wreaths, and displays. There's also a gingerbread creation made with 30 pounds of chocolate and 50 pounds of royal icing. Actors union Sag-Aftra has released the full labor agreement with major film and television studios. The contract ended a 118-day-long strike on November 8th. A chief union negotiator says the deal achieves more than $1 billion in new compensation and benefits. Members have until December 5th to vote on the contract. If approved, the new agreement will run through June of 2026. Hollywood suffered a 1-2 punch this summer when both the writers and actors unions went on strike. The writers reached an agreement on new contracts in September. One of the biggest issues for both groups is the rise of artificial intelligence in the industry. 45,000 students are expected to be back in school after more than 3 weeks of missed classes. Oregon's largest school district has reached a tentative agreement with its teachers union.
Teachers have been on strike since November over pay and class sizes. Salaries in the district start at around $50,000.
Many parents were supportive of the walkout, but as the strike persisted, some raised concerns about learning loss among students, especially in the wake of the pandemic.
There were no online classes during the strike. Teachers still have to vote on the contract. The school board will have to approve the agreement as well. Students will lose a week of winter break to make up some of the missed school days.
And a manhunt is underway after a 17-year-old murder suspect escaped from a Louisiana youth jail for the second time this month.
The teenager, along with another youth suspected of murder, broke loose from the East Baton Rouge Juvenile Detention Center. An investigation is underway into how it occurred.
The facility has faced criticism in the past due to repeated escapes and violent incidents. In response, the East Baton Rouge Parish plans to allocate $2 million for security upgrades.
A note of caution for iPhone users, especially parents. Police say the name drop feature in the iOS 17 update might pose a security risk. It allows users to share their contact information with other iPhones or Apple Watches by holding the devices close together. The feature is turned on by default with the new update. In a Facebook post, the Middletown Division of Police in Ohio urged parents to change settings on their child's phone to prevent any harm. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office in Michigan shared the concern, saying many people do not check their settings or realize how their phone works. To turn off the feature, go to Settings, General, and then click AirDrop.
American taxpayers could be paying for a wide range of transgender treatments for prison inmates. That's according to the Federal Bureau of Prisons documents, which published by the Heritage Foundation.
Prisons are offering voice training, laser hair removal devices, surgical procedures, and hormone therapies. The guidance says the cross-sex surgeries, quote, may be medically necessary for certain inmates.
A diagnosis of gender dysphoria isn't required for transgender hormone treatments. An inmate who identifies as transgender would be referred to a medical provider or mental health professional.
After starting hormone treatment, the inmate can request to live in a, quote, gender-affirming institution. The prison warden would then be tasked with sending the case to a council for review.
And New York could see hundreds of more cannabis stores pop up. The state's Cannabis Control Board is settling a lawsuit brought by disabled veterans. 4 New Yorkers who are service-disabled veterans brought the lawsuit. They wanted to open dispensaries when recreational cannabis was legalized statewide.
But they allege that the state marijuana regulator discriminated against them. Their lawsuit argues that the state prioritized applications from convicted drug felons.
Former Governor Andrew Cuomo legalized recreational cannabis statewide in 2021. The act states that any person may apply to the board for a license to open a dispensary.
New York State's Cannabis Control Board will hold a meeting today. There are currently 11 illegal weed shops in the Big Apple. Clearing this legal hurdle could pave the way for hundreds more awaiting approval. A lake effect snow warning for western New York. More than a foot of snow is expected in the Lake Ontario and Lake Erie regions starting Monday. Heavy winds could reach 35 miles per hour and the snow could reach 2 feet in some areas. New York Governor Kathy Hochul advised New Yorkers to brace themselves for the storm. She said residents should be careful on the road, drive slowly, and clear ice and snow from their windshields. The state has more than 3,500 workers available to help. It's stocked up on generators, bottles of water, and blankets as the winter season gets underway. And utility companies are prepared as well, with around 5,500 workers statewide to deal with outages.
Coming up, a deadly storm impacting millions of people in Europe. As Russia and Ukraine keep fighting each other, Mother Nature is attacking both of them simultaneously.
6 teenagers are on trial today in Paris, accused of involvement in the beheading of a French teacher by a suspected Islamist in 2020. We'll have more on the trial soon when we return.
They are some of the hottest videos on social media. Those videos claiming to instantly get rid of bags under your eyes. Annette Figueroa is here to tell us why she says this one is for real.
This one is for real, and I'm so excited. Not only does it work on the bags, it works on the appearance of crow's feet, fine lines, and wrinkles. We even have a video, and all he uses is a small amount, and that's how easy it is. And I did this to my father. We were at home, 4 minutes, 34 seconds, completely gone.
My real true opinion is holy words I can't say on camera. This is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I could feel it just lifting my skin. It was amazing. It feels good. Feels great. Looks even better.
At our $14.95 price, it's the best way to try Plexiderm and see it work for yourself after your first application. Your solution is at plexidermtrial.com or call the number on your screen.
Hi, I'm Caleb, and this is my story. I was born with osteogenesis imperfecta, or brittle bone disease. I have broken my bones almost 200 times, and I have had 11 surgeries. But I didn't let that stop me. I love to bike ride, climb, race, and I'm learning how to stand and walk. But I can only do all of this because of generous people like you and Shriners Hospitals for Children.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children has helped more than 1.3 million kids just like me, regardless of their family's ability to pay.
Shriners Hospitals for Children is only able to provide this world-class, life-changing medical care because of the generous gifts of people just like you.
Because of you, I can ride my bike. I can play basketball.
Because of people like you, I can run.
I can smile.
Will you send your love to the rescue today?
When you go to loveshriners.org right now and give just 63 cents a day, you're helping kids just like me.
Like me. Like me.
When you give today, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of the love you gave to a kid just like me.
Your gift, no matter how small, can help a child today.
This is your moment to make a difference.
When you pick up your phone, I know you have it right there, and call to give. You're helping kids like me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, please call again or give right away at loveshriners.org.
Your gift makes a difference. Thank you for giving.
I'm Steve Lance in Washington, D.C., and we are NTD News.
Welcome back. Argentina's President-elect Javier Milei is arriving in the U.S. today. He will meet with U.S. and international officials over a two-day visit.
According to a spokesman for Milei, he will hold protocol meetings to lay out the economic plan for his country. That includes fiscal adjustment, monetary reform, state reform, and deregulation.
The spokesman added that Milei's visit is not about seeking financing. Several members of his team will accompany Milei on his visit. He's set to be inaugurated on December 10th, succeeding former President Alberto Fernandez. And Milei has been likened to the Netherlands president-elect Geert Wilders. Earlier, I spoke with Epoch Times contributor Roger Simon, who's been following these developments. Simon is also the author of American Refugees, which is out January 9th, and the director of the Presidential Roller Coaster 2024 on Epoch TV. Let's see that now. Roger, welcome to our show. Thanks for joining us again.
My pleasure.
Now, you recently wrote in the Epoch Times about this growing global popularity of libertarian ideals. What do you think is behind this surge?
Well, two things. But mostly, though, it's the left has overextended itself for the last 25 years, and it keeps growing and growing. And the people are going, whoa, it's a little bit too much. In Argentina, it ended up with 134% inflation. We complain about it here, but you can't even imagine what that's like. I mean, forget about going to the store. I mean, it would be a nightmare. And then if you look at the Netherlands, where Geert Wilders just won, they were giving their beloved farmers, I mean, it's a big farming country, the Netherlands. I've been there a few times. It's a beautiful place. And it's not just tulips. They've got food that they're growing for everybody and a lot of Europe. And the strictures due to so-called global warming were getting so crazy that the farmers couldn't possibly make a living, and they were protesting. And they were not the type who protested frequently. Right. And this got to the public. And so, Geert Wilders had a chance to win on that. He did.
So Wilders and Milei, who you just mentioned, are both sometimes labeled as far right. That's despite their libertarian positions. What about this? Could you elaborate on their ideologies and how they align with traditional libertarian principles and why they might be labeled as far right?
Well, you have to ask yourself, first of all, what is libertarianism? And, if you look back at the U.S. Declaration of Independence written by one Thomas Jefferson, you see all men are created equal and endowed by rights by their creator, right? Now, not the government. And interestingly, therefore, they have personal individual freedoms. And that's really the root of libertarianism that comes from John Locke, also in England, and it was taken up again by Henry David Thoreau in the United States in the middle of the 19th century. And these ideas are not complicated. They're just basic human freedoms. They're not far right. Far right is essentially a smear campaign that the mainstream media or the legacy media puts on us.
And Roger, your op-ed criticizes the concept of globalism and associates it with oligarchism or oligarchic power. Can you expand on how you view the relationship between globalism and the rise of libertarianism?
Let's look at actual examples. What you have is one of the great advocates who's very famous in our culture is Bill Gates as an advocate of globalism, although not he tries to hide it, but that's what he is, has been buying up many of the farms in America. Now, that's a crazy thing to do, and very, very much a monopolist thing to do. Whereas on the other side, people want the family farm back. I mean, the globalism is all about a certain small number of people, in fact, tiny number, if you think about it in world terms, taking control of everything, all the means of production. It's beyond Marxism, because Marx, Marxism was this kind of dream that the proletariat, that the workers would take over these things for themselves, which never happened and never would. But what we have now is just the oligarchs, under a pretentious name of globalism and the World Economic Forum, and you will have nothing and you will be happy. No, that's nonsense, because none of these people have nothing. They've got everything. They were jetting around in private jets while the rest of us wait in line at overcrowded airports. It's almost absurd when you think about it.
Roger, Simon, that's all we have time for today, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And now let's head to Europe with some short headlines from Ukraine, Russia, and other countries. Today, almost 500,000 people are without power, and at least 3 people are dead in the Black Sea region.
That's after a storm flooded roads, ripped up trees, and took down power lines. It's especially affecting the Crimean Peninsula.
The storm also hit southern Russia. It sent waves flooding into the beach resort of Sochi. It also blew the roof off a 5-story building and damaged homes and schools.
The storm is part of a weather front which brought heavy snowfall and strong blizzards in Romania and Moldova on Sunday. The Russian-installed governor of Crimea declared a state of emergency.
The storm is also affecting Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the nation late Sunday, saying a severe snowstorm left about 400 towns and villages without power.
He also thanked Ukraine's military for fighting Russian attacks and its rescue services during the storm. Ukrainian police are warning people not to travel in and out of the western port city of Odessa.
Italy will continue funding a humanitarian food program in Ukraine. The country's prime minister recently announced she's allocating over $2 million to the Grain from Ukraine program.
The program was implemented last year. It funnels Ukrainian grain to developing countries around the globe. The program and Italy's recent announcement seek to remember a famine in Ukraine 90 years ago.
That's when communist Soviets created a man-made famine in Ukraine, killing millions.
Together, we commemorate the victims of the Holodomor, the extermination by starvation perpetrated 90 years ago by the Soviet regime against your people, and which claimed millions of lives.
6 teenagers are on trial today in Paris. Authorities accuse them of involvement in the beheading of French history teacher Samuel Paty. The teacher reportedly showed his pupils cartoons of Muhammad during a class on freedom of expression.
The 6 minors face a variety of charges. A 15-year-old girl is charged with making a false accusation. She allegedly told her parents that Paty asked Muslim pupils to leave the room before showing the caricatures. It was established she wasn't in the class when it happened.
The other 5 minors will be charged with premeditated criminal conspiracy or ambush. They are suspected of having pointed out Paty to the alleged murderer or helped in his exit from the school. The 6 could serve up to 2.5 years in jail if convicted.
The hearings will last until early December and will be held behind closed doors. 8 adults also stand accused of related crimes and will appear before a special criminal court. Paty's alleged killer was shot dead by police soon after the attack.
Over to tech news. The U.S., Britain, and over a dozen other countries want to keep artificial intelligence safe from rogue actors. On Sunday, they unveiled a detailed international agreement.
It pushes for companies to create AI systems that are secure by design. A senior U.S. official calls the agreement the first of its kind.
But it's non-binding. It carries mostly general recommendations such as monitoring AI systems for abuse, protecting data from tampering, and vetting software suppliers. Spanish police are busting drug dealers and meat thieves.
First, authorities say they seized over 1,300 pounds of cocaine hidden in a container. Police were tipped off by a source in South America, telling them the drugs would arrive in a container in Valencia, Spain. The cocaine was disguised with a picture of the character from the Simpsons cartoon series.
In a separate incident, police recovered almost 300 pieces of ham and over 400 Iberian cured meats. The market value of those items reached over $200,000. In Ukraine, women are allowed to work in underground coal mines for the first time in its history. That's after a coal mine in eastern Ukraine suffered a huge staff shortage, with more than 1,000 of its workers fighting in the war with Russia.
For the first time, women at this Ukrainian mining enterprise are allowed to work underground. This colliery in eastern Ukraine faced a staffing shortage when more than 1,000 of its workers went to fight Russia's invasion, making women workers its answer. More than 100 took up the offer. Natalia used to work in a shop that sold appliances. Now she is a mine technician and electrician.
This indeed is a job for men. It's a hard job. We help our men. I think in the future even more women will work here. We already have women that work as mine lift operators. We work as electricians. There are even some women working as miners.
Christina's brother used to work at the colliery before he left to join the army. She says she initially took the job because many other local businesses were shuttered when the war broke out. For 5 months, she has worked 470 meters below ground, servicing the small electric trains that carry workers more than 2 miles from the lift shaft where they descend to the seams of coal.
It's very hard to work here, especially lifting the battery lids and breathing in the fumes when the batteries are charging. But I got used to it, and now I like working here. We know that as our guys were taken to the front lines, now we need to support them. There is no one else to work in the mine. There are only women here now. We cannot leave all this behind and go for other jobs, letting our boys down. We need to support the boys that are at the front now.
Of the 1,000 miners at this mine and its nearby twin enterprise who went to fight, 42 have been killed. Many more have been wounded, according to management, making it likely that women will remain a key part of mining operations even after the war ends.
Coming up, artificial intelligence is helping with brain surgeries. How that might look in real operations. We hear from experts.
And America's oldest dictionary has announced the top word of 2023. Hint, it means stay true to yourself. Take a guess and confirm your answer here on NTD News Today.
Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shin-Yun.
Do you feel the bills getting higher and higher every time you check out at the supermarket? Do you feel your monthly discretionary money has decreased, although your income increases yearly? Inflation is eating away at your wealth. Digital wallets and central bank digital currencies are destroying financial privatization. Only gold and silver are constitutional forms of money. Our privacy was to be protected against unlawful search and seizure. Midas Gold Group will help you take control of your finances and protect your wealth and your privacy. Pulling money out of the corrupt banking and investment system is a way to privatize your finances as the elite push us towards digital wallets and central bank digital currency. Protect your wealth with real money. Deal with the best. Midas Gold Group, a proud America First company. MidasGoldGroup.com.
Stay tuned to get 2 rolls of alien tape free. You wouldn't stick your mother-in-law on the wall, but you could with alien tape. It just sticks. Just peel and stick to make anything stay in place quick. Brick, pavers, marble, tile, plastic, even leather. Nothing works better than alien tape. You wouldn't stick your fishbowl on a moving car, but you could with alien tape. The secret is nano-stick technology that grabs and locks on to secure one side of the surface to the other. Alien tape secures in seconds, then twist, pull, and rinse to reuse. Call or go online to get your first roll of alien tape for just $19.99, plus shipping and processing. But to make this deal really stick, we'll give you 2 more rolls absolutely free. You get 3 rolls of alien tape for one low price. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-490-1364 or go to tryalientape.com. So call 1-800-490-1364 or order online at tryalientape.com.
Welcome back. This has been an especially lucky Thanksgiving holiday for one man who cashed in his winning lottery ticket.
The Illinois man says he has a favorite restaurant he likes to eat at in Michigan, and every few weeks he drives from Illinois to that restaurant. He also makes sure to buy a Lucky for Life lottery ticket.
Usually he buys 10 or 20 chances, but last September the clerk accidentally gave him 10 chances on each ticket, and that mistake paid off.
The lucky man won $25,000 a year for life because he matched 5 of the numbers on his draw correctly. He recently cashed in his ticket and opted for a one-time lump payment. It was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime, but now it's not happening. Life at Sea Cruises says it had to cancel its 3-year inaugural cruise because it doesn't have a ship. The voyage was originally due to depart from Istanbul on November 1st. After being postponed twice and relocated to Amsterdam, the cruise is officially off. Passengers are now out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some say they have nowhere to go, having sold or rented their homes in anticipation of the round-the-world voyage. Life at Sea Cruises says it's working to refund passengers, but that will take a few months. Artificial intelligence is helping to train brain surgeons to perform critical operations more effectively and safely. That's according to the UK's National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery.
But how that might look in a real operation? Well, let's find out.
Could artificial intelligence be used to make brain surgery safer? At this university in London, trainee surgeon Daniel Khan is taking part in a mock operation, during which he's assisted by a real-time video feed, as is typical in brain surgery. But what's new here is that the footage is being analyzed by AI to help Khan better understand what he's seeing. The AI system, which is under development at University College London, highlights sensitive or critical structures in the brain. Neurosurgeon Hanny Marcus believes it has the potential to make brain surgery safer and more effective.
So I'm very bullish that in the medium to long term, the AI will be helping lots of surgeons do lots of operations better than they otherwise can.
Marcus says the AI system analyzed video of more than 200 pituitary gland tumor operations and gained around 10 years worth of experience in a fraction of the time. That knowledge means the AI can now not only help navigate to the correct area of the brain, but also know what should be happening at any stage of the procedure, making it a valuable training aid.
What we're really trying to do is apply AI, or artificial intelligence, to support surgeons doing brain tumor surgery at the base of the brain. And what this practically entails is us training the AI with hundreds of videos, telling it, if you like, what structures are what. And then at some point over that period, the AI becomes really good itself at recognizing things and able to support other surgeons who are perhaps less experienced in advising them what to do next.
Assistant Professor of Robotics and AI, Sophia Bano, explains how that might look in a real operation.
There can be scenarios where clinicians unintentionally are very close to a very critical structure, such as optic nerve. This can have any damage or a slight more pressure on the optic nerve can have long-term complications on the patient side. So this whole tool will alert the surgeon during the procedure if there is any risk of potential complications, so they can recalibrate themselves during the procedure.
Khan, who was also involved in developing the software that is now helping him learn, says the AI system has been a valuable tool in his training. It could also provide him with step-by-step guidance during a procedure, similar to having a senior surgeon standing over your shoulder.
I think as I progress as a surgeon, there might be stages where I wonder, have I done enough of a particular part of the procedure and should I move on? And actually having that sort of assistant in the background as a reassurance to look at and say, well, yeah, actually at this stage, out of the hundreds of videos of experts that this algorithm has watched, the experts would probably start moving on to the next phase. It's a useful double check.
According to UCL, the system could be ready to be used in operating theaters within 2 years.
NASA might soon be able to probe deeper into space and find out more about the origin of the universe, thanks to a new laser communications technology. The laser is embedded in the Psyche spacecraft. It will be the most distant experiment of high-bandwidth laser communications. It just sent back its first data from beyond the moon, a big milestone for the project. The laser can send data at 10 to 100 times the speed of traditional radio wave systems used by NASA. If it's successful, the technology could be used to communicate with humans exploring Mars. The Psyche spacecraft is currently traveling to catch the first glimpse of a metal asteroid between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. It will spend the next 6 years traveling to reach its final destination, the outer part of the main asteroid belt. And if your goal is to be true to yourself, then you're in step with the word of the year, which is authentic. Merriam-Webster says there has always been a high volume of lookups for the word, but there was a substantial increase in 2023. Regarding the uptick in searches, the online dictionary cites stories about artificial intelligence, celebrity culture, identity, social media, and even Taylor Swift. Some of the meanings of authentic include not false imitation and true to one's own personality, spirit, or character.
Other top words for the year include deepfake, coronation, dystopian, and riz, which means romantic appeal or charm. Last year's word of the year was gaslighting. And if you have any news tips or feedback for the show, please feel free to email us at news.today@ntd.com.
I'd like to say this is the first time, but there have been others.
How many?
Who can keep track?
You think this is a joke?
Darling, we need answers, and you're gonna give them to us.
Tell us again.
My car broke down. I brought it here.
I got stuck paying an expensive repair bill.
So it's true.
How much, darling?
$2,300.
$2,300.
Well, what was I supposed to do? My transmission was shot.
You pick up your phone and you call CarShield before the car breaks down.
Plans through CarShield cover up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car.
That's right. A plan through CarShield could save you on some criminally high auto repairs, especially if your car is out of warranty. So, call CarShield, America's #1 auto protection company, before a breakdown and save yourself from getting stuck in car repair jail.
Let me guess. You hate saving money.
Who hates saving money?
Apparently you do.
All you had to do was call CarShield. And you could have protected yourself against expensive repairs.
Yeah, and then my price will go up the minute I file a claim.
Shut up! CarShield has the price locked in.
For as long as you cover your car.
Guess I should have called CarShield?
It's about time you said something that made sense.
Now you know what you need to do next time.
Bet he'll call CarShield now.
So can I go? Or
Don't get handcuffed paying expensive auto repairs. Call now and get the CarShield Guarantee. Your price will never go up and your coverage will never go down as long as you cover your car. In just minutes, you could have a plan that covers up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car. Don't wait until it's too late. Get CarShield's best coverage yet.
Call 800-965-0729. 800-965-0729. 800-965-0729.
It's just clear as day. The media, whether it's broadcast, cable, or print media, has become extremely biased. And I started looking online for alternative ways to get information. And I saw an ad for a free trial. And I looked at it and I said, Epoch Times. I mean, come on, this is end of days type of stuff. I mean, what are they going to be talking about here? And I said, well, it's a free trial. Let me dig in. Is it giving me both sides? Is it giving me an objective point of view here? I have looked for opportunities to see where they might be biased, and I don't find it. It has given me a level of trust in media that I didn't think I'd ever get back. I love the Epoch Times because it has renewed my faith in the idea that a reliable, responsible, non-biased source of information is available. And I can say that I love it because of that.
I'm Tiffany Meyer in New York City, and we are NTD News.
Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are our top stories.
An extension of truce agreed between Israel and Hamas. That's according to a spokesperson for Qatar's foreign ministry. We have the latest on the hostage deal.
The dangers of artificial intelligence. The U.S., Britain, and others now taking unprecedented steps for AI safety. We bring you the details.
China continues to grapple with a surge of respiratory illnesses, overwhelming hospitals. What's behind the outbreak that has affected so many children?
Clashes reported at China's border with Myanmar, also known as Burma. What factions are behind the tensions in the region?
The latest Black Friday online shopping numbers are out. It looks like shoppers doled out a record amount for their wallets.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Hello and welcome to NTD News Today.
We have insights and perspectives on the stories shaping our world.
Breaking news, in-depth analysis, and inspiration to power your day. Now for our top stories. Just in, Israel and Hamas have agreed to extend the ceasefire for hostages agreement by 2 more days.
That's according to a spokesperson for Qatar's foreign ministry. The 4th group of hostages from the original deal is expected to be released today.
The Egyptian government said under the extension, Hamas would release 10 more hostages each day in exchange for 30 Palestinians from Israeli prisons each day. That's a ratio of 3 Palestinians for 1 Israeli. There was no immediate confirmation from Israel.
The Egyptian government also said Hamas is expected to release the 4th group of hostages, 11 Israelis, today. In exchange, Israel will release 33 Palestinian prisoners.
The United States, Qatar, and Egypt helped mediate the ceasefire and hostage deal. The original pause is set to expire by the end of today.
Hamas so far has released 62 hostages out of the roughly 240 it took. That means roughly 180 remain. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he will press ahead with the war after the ceasefire expires.
A manhunt is underway. Authorities are searching for a man who shot and wounded 3 college students of Palestinian descent in Vermont. Investigators suspect the shooting was a hate-motivated crime.
Authorities say a man with a pistol shot the 3 20-year-olds Saturday evening on a street near the University of Vermont in Burlington and then ran away. Police say 2 of the victims are U.S. citizens and the 3rd is a legal U.S. resident. They added that 2 students were wearing the traditional checkered scarf at the time of the attack.
The shooting comes amid a rise in anti-Islamic and anti-Semitic incidents reported around the U.S. after the Hamas terrorist attack on October 7th.
In a statement, Burlington's police chief said, in this charged moment, no one can look at this incident and not suspect that it may have been a hate-motivated crime.
Police say all 3 remained under medical care on Sunday. 2 were in stable conditions, while 1 suffered much more serious injuries. The 3 went to universities in different states, but were gathered in Burlington for the Thanksgiving holiday at the home of one student's family.
Elon Musk is in Israel today to meet the country's top officials. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took him around the ruins of an Israeli kibbutz near the Gaza border. Israel said it had reached an agreement in principle with the tech entrepreneur regarding the use of its SpaceX Starlink communications in the Gaza Strip.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog also scheduled an afternoon meeting with Musk. According to Herzog's office, they will be joined by relatives of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. The 2 will also discuss rising anti-Semitism online.
The visit comes following controversy over some of Musk's replies on social media posts, some interpreted as anti-Semitic. At least a dozen major brands halted ad spending last week, including Disney, IBM, Fox Sports, and the European Commission.
Musk denies the accusations of endorsing anti-Semitism. And next, speaking with us from Jerusalem, Rabbi Abraham Cooper, Associate Dean at the Simon Wiesenthal Center, who I spoke with earlier today. Rabbi Cooper, thank you so much for joining us. To begin with, day 4 of the Hamas-Israel ceasefire. To begin with, could you outline for our viewers what is going on with these expected next release? Who are the people who are expected to be released?
Well, today being Monday, sometime between now and midnight, Israel will expect another 11 Israelis to be released. And unfortunately, they'll have to release 33 Hamas criminals from Israeli jails. That's part of the deal. Egypt is also reporting that perhaps in the next 2 days, another 20 Israelis would be released. And if you do the math, that means 60 additional Palestinians to be released from jail. As there are still over 200 Israelis and Americans and other foreigners are still being held. And that's a lot of people. So but in the short range, I think most Israelis, not all, agree that these pauses, while they essentially help Hamas, are worth it for now in order to save as many lives as possible. And I don't know about in the States. I'm actually here in Jerusalem for a few days, and watching the emotional return of Israeli children back into Israeli territory. Maybe the most famous little girl is also, an American. President Biden always spoke of her and continues to speak of her. She's back in Israel, but her parents were murdered in front of her eyes. So the emotions run deep, very, very complicated. And I think that, for many people in the world, when they hear ceasefire, they say, well, good, that'll mean that maybe that'll be the end of the violence in this round. And I don't think that's going to be the case.
And so, as you mentioned, there's an expectation that this ceasefire could continue. How practical is the idea of a permanent ceasefire?
Well, considering what Hamas did, carrying out the worst mass murder of Jews since the end of the Nazi Holocaust, 1,200 Jewish people in a day, about the equivalent of 39,000 Americans murdered in one day by one group. And the mass rapes, the beheadings, families burned to death, kidnapping, and of course, hostage taking, that Hamas has managed to do really the impossible. They have unified virtually the entire Jewish people. And so for a small country like Israel, the brutality that was exposed, that took place, is unlike any previous, military fight with Hamas or other Palestinians. This was medieval slaughter. So for Israel, when the prime minister said at the beginning that they're going to go and root out Hamas, they're going to go and root out Hamas. It may take now a little bit longer, but I don't see these pauses as leading to a permanent ceasefire.
Now, some analysts have suggested that Hamas especially would like to keep American hostages because then it would be more likely that Biden would pressure Netanyahu into maintaining this ceasefire status. How important is the U.S.'s pressure in these negotiations, and what, if anything, do you think that they should do differently?
Well, first of all, I think in this situation, we have to give President Biden actually high grades. He went over to Israel. He essentially hugged the nation. He brought the fleet into the Eastern Mediterranean, which has more or less frozen the Iranians from unleashing a second front in northern from Hezbollah, and has also helped Israel replenish the missiles it needs to take down the other missiles. So overall, he's done very, very well. There is no way that Israel is going to accept a permanent ceasefire when you still have 2/3 of the Hamas fighting force still unscathed, and some of their top leaders, although they may be trapped in underground in Gaza, are not yet taken out. I think they'll do everything they can to recover their hostages and the rest of the American hostages. But there is also one other reality when we talk about the hostages. We don't know which of them are already dead. And the reason I bring that up is because Hamas is still holding 7 years later the bodies of Israeli soldiers they killed in the previous round. So whether they're alive or dead, we're dealing with an entity that doesn't operate in the Judeo-Christian realm. They just see live or dead, Jew or Arab. These are just, items to be used to keep them going.
Rabbi, thank you so much. Really appreciate hearing your thoughts here today.
Thank you.
Americans are remembering Rosalynn Carter as a 3-day tribute to the former First Lady begins today. After ceremonies in the Carter's native county in South Georgia, Rosalynn's remains will travel by motorcade to Atlanta, where she will lie in repose at the Jimmy Carter Presidential Library and Museum.
A wreath-laying ceremony will take place at the Rosalynn Carter Health and Human Science Complex at Georgia Southwestern State University during the motorcade route. President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden, longtime friends of the Carters, are expected to attend the Atlanta service.
Coming up, a satanic Christmas tree in Wisconsin causes controversy. Find out what a Republican congressman says to criticize the installation.
And New York could see hundreds more cannabis stores pop up. The state's Cannabis Control Board settles a lawsuit brought by disabled veterans. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
Art is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shin-Yun.
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Throw that ball, Diane! Woo! You got this!
To a child, this is what conflict looks like. Children in Ukraine are caught in the crossfire of war, forced to flee their homes.
A steady stream of refugees has been coming across all day. It's bitterly cold.
Lacking clean water and sanitation, exposed to injury, hunger.
Exhausted and shell-shocked from what they've been through.
Every dollar you give can help bring a meal, a blanket, or simply hope to a child living in conflict. Please call or go online to GiveNowToSave.org today with your gift of $10 a month. That's just 33 cents a day. We cannot forget the children in places like Syria, born in refugee camps, playing in refugee camps, thinking of the camps as home. Please call or go online to GiveNowToSave.org today with your gift of $10 a month. Your gift can help children like Ara in Afghanistan, where nearly 20 years of conflict have forced the people into extreme poverty. Weakened and unable to hold herself up, Ara was brought to a Save the Children center where she was diagnosed and treated for severe malnutrition. Every dollar helps. Please call or go online to GiveNowToSave.org today with your gift of $10 a month, just 33 cents a day. And thanks to special government grants that are available now, every dollar you give can multiply up to 10 times the impact. And when you use your credit card, you'll receive this special Save the Children tote bag to show you won't forget the children who are living their lives in conflict. Every war is a war against children. Please, give now.
And welcome back. Here with us now is NTD Business host Don Ma to talk about how Americans set a new record for online spending on Black Friday.
Don, consumers shelled out nearly $10 billion on Black Friday.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It's a new record, as Steph mentioned just now. It's a 7.5% increase compared to last year. And interesting thing is that this was driven a lot by online sales. People were shopping for electronics, things like televisions, smartwatches, audio equipment even. So most of their shoppers did their shopping on their phones rather than their desktop computers, which is the first between these two comparisons. And it seems like in-store traffic has came down a little bit compared to last year. I don't know if you've seen the footage online of comparing this year's crowds compared to last year's. There has been a dramatic difference at some places. The crowds this year is a lot smaller compared to last year at some places. And it's no surprise because mobile purchases accounted for about $5.3 billion. You know, that's a lot, relatively speaking. And Adobe expects that purchases with smartphones this year is also expected to keep going up. And last week I mentioned buy now and pay later. It seems like a lot of shoppers have been using that this Black Friday as well. And so we're talking about online sales, but it seems like in-store traffic has increased as well compared to last year, which is a pleasant surprise for retailers. And this is according to MasterCard's Spending Pulse Insights.
Wow, fascinating. So, you know, American spending has kept the economy going, but is there any sign of weakening in the consumer?
Yeah, that's a very important question. Well, definitely it's possible, but we got to look at the facts here. Some experts who think this is possible are citing high housing costs, rising credit card debt, and shrinking savings. And for example, a principal economist at the conference board has said that he expects the consumer to potentially buckle in 2024, and the headwinds are you know, just keep coming for the consumers. And I'll list some of them. So 40-year high in terms of housing costs. So that's a big one. Americans are carrying more debt than before, $500 billion in just the past 2 years. But you know, despite all these headwinds, right? The saying goes, you never want to bet against the American consumer, and you know, we'll just have to wait and see. But it's definitely a possibility.
All right, what else do you have for us, Don?
Sure. Cyber Monday online sales expected to hit a record $12 billion. And this is as U.S. shoppers look for steep discounts. So data from Adobe Analytics says they're splurging on products like Barbie dolls, headphones, those types of things. And this potentially eases concern of a lackluster 2023 holiday shopping season, which was previously feared. Salesforce also predicted Cyber Monday online sales would grow in the high single-digit percentage range, and both globally and in the United States. But some major banks expect a global economic growth slowdown in 2024. This is over concerns of elevated interest rates and high energy costs. And a Reuters poll actually showed that the global economy is forecasting to grow 2.9% this year, with next year's growth slowing to 2.6%. And most economists expect the global economy to avoid a recession, but have raised possibilities of a mild recession in Europe and potentially in the UK as well. And a soft landing for the United States is still in the cards. And China as well, its growth is seen as weakening, which was exacerbated by companies seeking alternative product destinations. And finally, in-person banking is about to become more difficult for some Americans. Almost a dozen different banks have filed to close over 60 branches in multiple states. The top 3 banks involved are PNC Bank, JP Morgan Chase, and Citizens Bank. So the rising use of digital banking has decreased the need for physical bank branches, and the closures help banks increase their profit margins. But these closures do affect consumers. Many small towns have become bank deserts, if you will, where the closest bank is miles away. And according to the National Community Reinvestment Coalition, local jobs are being lost, small businesses and lending activity could also decline. But that's all from me.
All right, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
And a Republican congressman is criticizing a satanic Christmas tree that has gone up in his district.
I think it's impossible to overstate how offensive this is to Christians. It would be in quite, a little sense, the same thing as waving a Hamas flag inside of a synagogue.
The National Railroad Museum approved the installation in suburban Green Bay.
Representative Mike Gallagher discussed the issue with Fox News on Sunday. He said the museum told concerned parents that the Christmas tree is an educational opportunity for kids.
The Satanic Temple of Wisconsin's tree was among over 60 on display. The museum's Festival of Trees will run through December. And a manhunt is underway after a 17-year-old murder suspect escaped from a Louisiana youth jail for the second time this month.
The teenager, along with another youth suspected of murder, broke loose from the East Baton Rouge Juvenile Detention Center. An investigation is underway into how it occurred.
The facility has faced criticism in the past due to repeated escapes and violent incidents. In response, the East Baton Rouge Parish plans to allocate $2 million for security upgrades.
A note of caution for iPhone users, especially parents. Police say the name drop feature in the iOS 17 update might pose a security risk. It allows users to share their contact information with other iPhones or Apple Watches by holding the device close together. The feature is turned on by default with the new update. In a Facebook post, the Middletown Division of Police in Ohio urged parents to change its settings on their child's phone to prevent any harm. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office in Michigan shared the concern, saying many people do not check their settings or realize how their phone works. To turn off the feature, go to Settings, General, and then click AirDrop.
American taxpayers could be paying for a wide range of transgender treatments for prison inmates. That's according to Federal Bureau of Prisons documents published by the Heritage Foundation.
Prisons are offering voice training, laser hair removal devices, surgical procedures, and hormone therapies. The guidance says the cross-sex surgeries, quote, may be medically necessary for certain inmates.
A diagnosis of gender dysphoria isn't required for transgender hormone treatments. An inmate who identifies as transgender would be referred to a medical provider or mental health professional.
After starting hormone treatment, the inmate can request to live in a, quote, gender-affirming institution. The prison warden would then be tasked with sending the case to a council for review.
And New York could see hundreds of more cannabis stores pop up. The state's Cannabis Control Board is settling a lawsuit brought by disabled veterans. 4 New Yorkers who are service-disabled veterans brought the lawsuit. They wanted to open dispensaries when recreational cannabis was legalized statewide.
But they allege that the state marijuana regulator discriminated against them. Their lawsuit argues that the state prioritized applications from convicted drug felons.
Former Governor Andrew Cuomo legalized recreational cannabis statewide in 2021. The act states that any person may apply to the board for a license to open a dispensary.
New York State's Cannabis Control Board will hold a meeting today. There are currently 11 legal weed shops in the Big Apple. Clearing this legal hurdle could pave the way for hundreds more awaiting approval. A lake effect snow warning for western New York. More than a foot of snow is expected in the Lake Ontario and Lake Erie regions starting Monday. Heavy winds could reach 35 miles per hour and the snow could reach 2 feet in some areas. New York Governor Kathy Hochul advised New Yorkers to brace themselves for the storm. She says residents should be careful on the road, drive slowly, and clear ice and snow from their windshields. The state has more than 3,500 workers available to help. It's stocked up on generators, bottles of water, and blankets as the winter season gets underway. And utility companies are prepared as well, with around 5,500 workers statewide to deal with outages. The husband and wife who died in last week's car explosion at the U.S.-Canada border have been identified. Niagara Falls police say Kurt and Monica Villani from Grand Island, New York, were in the 2022 Bentley when it crashed at Rainbow Bridge. Investigators believe the speeding car hit a curb and guardrail. The vehicle then went airborne, leading to the fiery crash. The incident sparked massive law enforcement response on a busy travel day, but has now been deemed an accident. Customs and Border Protection reopened the border crossing Thursday night.
U.S. Customs officers have plenty else going on. They seized a counterfeit of a rare watch. It was shipped from India and heading to a home in Palm Beach, Florida. The Richard Milei 88 Smiley watch is highly sought after because only 50 of them exist around the world, and they are each worth nearly $4 million. U.S. Customs officers confiscated the fake watch on November 16th in Cincinnati.
Officers say they knew it was a fake because of the watch's packaging, its lack of fine details, and because it wasn't insured. An agency spokesperson said watches and jewelry are the most commonly counterfeited items seized by customs officers.
The day after officers seized the fake watch, they confiscated another shipment of fake watches worth nearly $900,000. Coming up, nearly a decade after the disappearance of Malaysian Airlines flight MH370, a court hearing is taking place in Beijing for the relatives of the victims.
Clashes reported at China's border with Myanmar, also known as Burma. What factors are behind the tension in the region? We'll have the details soon when we return.
I'd like to say this is the first time, but there have been others.
How many?
Who can keep track?
You think this is a joke?
Darling, we need answers, and you're gonna give them to us.
Tell us again.
My car broke down. I brought it here. I got stuck paying an expensive repair bill.
So it's true.
How much, darling?
$2,300.
$2,300.
Well, what was I supposed to do? My transmission was shot.
You pick up your phone and you call CarShield before the car breaks down.
Plans through CarShield cover up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car.
That's right. A plan through CarShield could save you on some criminally high auto repairs, especially if your car is out of warranty. So, call CarShield, America's #1 auto protection company, before a breakdown and save yourself from getting stuck in car repair jail.
Let me guess. You hate saving money.
Who hates saving money?
Apparently you do.
All you had to do was call CarShield. And you could have protected yourself against expensive repairs.
Yeah, and then my price will go up the minute I file a claim.
Shut up! CarShield has the price locked in.
For as long as you cover your car.
I guess I should have called CarShield?
It's about time you said something that made sense.
Now you know what you need to do next time.
Bet he'll call CarShield now.
So can I go? Or
Don't get handcuffed paying expensive auto repairs. Call now and get the CarShield Guarantee. Your price will never go up and your coverage will never go down as long as you cover your car. In just minutes, you could have a plan that covers up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car. Don't wait until it's too late. Get CarShield's best coverage yet. Call 800-965-0729. 800-965-0729. 800-965-0729.
Introducing NutriBullet RX. NutriBullet RX uses breakthrough smart extraction technology to break down and open up foods like never before, giving us the most nutritious superfood drink ever, and get back to being healthy and well again.
My stomach issues literally went away.
My shoulder pain has gone.
I was able to sleep better at night.
I've lost 100 pounds.
During this TV offer, you can have the complete NutriBullet RX system rushed to your home for just 6 payments of only $29.99. You'll also receive this amazing bonus, the NutriBullet RX Hot Soup Maker. Just place it on the base, and the NutriBullet RX switches into soup mode to make hot, delicious, nutritious soup in an instant. You can have the complete NutriBullet RX system for just 6 payments of only $29.99. We'll ship the NutriBullet RX system right to your door for free. That's right, free shipping.
I'm Kelly Wright in New York City, and we are NTD News.
Welcome back. The U.S., Britain, and over a dozen other countries want to keep artificial intelligence safe from rogue actors.
They unveiled a detailed international agreement yesterday. It pushes for companies to create AI systems that are secure by design. A senior U.S. official calls the agreement the first of its kind.
But it's non-binding. It carries mostly general recommendations such as monitoring AI systems for abuse, protecting data from tampering, and vetting software suppliers. China continues to grapple with a surge of respiratory illnesses overwhelming hospitals.
NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the outbreak, which has affected many children.
Doctors in China have encouraged parents to take their kids to a doctor right away if they have any symptoms, especially for babies under 3 months old.
But some parents report that they waited up to 8 hours to get their children to see a doctor, with long lines forming at pediatric hospitals. Footage on CCTV shows crowded waiting rooms with babies and children wearing oxygen masks. China's top health body urged hospitals nationwide on Sunday to extend service hours and set up more clinics. Health officials there say the spike in acute respiratory cases is due to a combination of pathogens, most prominently influenza, and cite other pathogens behind the rise in cases among the 5 to 14 age group, including the rhinovirus, a typical cause of the common cold, and Mycoplasma pneumonia, a bacterial infection that usually affects younger children. The regime's claim that Mycoplasma pneumonia was behind the recent spike has met with skepticism, with residents saying that they tested negative for Mycoplasma. Some suspect that the country is grappling with the rebound in COVID-19 infections, as the infected showed similar symptoms such as cough, fatigue, and white lung. They suggest the Chinese Communist Party has directed officials and media to blame other pathogens because the party's leader has declared victory in combating the pandemic.
Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And now we have some short headlines from the countries in the Asia-Pacific region. In Beijing, relatives of victims on board Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 are asking for compensation.
The plane mysteriously disappeared while en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing in 2014.
Most of the passengers were Chinese. The plane's disappearance was one of the world's greatest aviation mysteries.
It has been 10 years that the court finally opened the case, which we think is a relief and a turning point.
Security was tight around the court and no detailed information was immediately available. Some of the relatives of the passengers were not allowed to witness the hearing.
Police checked the identities of journalists on site and sequestered them in a cordoned-off area. Reporters were able to see relatives enter the court, but were unable to speak with them before the hearing began.
Relatives who spoke to media afterwards wanted search efforts to resume and for Malaysia Airlines to directly communicate with families.
To me, the way they conduct the court hearing is shady. We don't understand it. Our cases share common facts. Why wouldn't we be allowed to witness the hearing? We'd like to hear how the judges would ask questions and how they would judge the cases. But the court and the police blocked us.
And over to China's border with Myanmar, also known as Burma. Social media videos released yesterday showed people on the Myanmar side of the border fence arguing with Chinese border guards and scrambling from an exploded smoke bomb.
People were reportedly appealing to Chinese security forces across the fence for safe passage and to release a man they said had been detained.
Chinese forces started combat exercises over the weekend that were due to run until Tuesday. China state media said they aim to test their combat capabilities and readiness to secure the border with Myanmar.
Internal conflicts in Myanmar have displaced tens of thousands of people in the border region. Concerns are growing in China about instability and an influx of refugees.
And speaking of border security, North Korea is scaling up border defense near the border with South Korea. This is following the suspension of a military accord between the two countries.
South Korea said armed North Korean soldiers had been spotted restoring damaged guard posts in several locations since Friday.
The North also deployed soldiers and heavy weapons at guard posts near the border.
North Korea warned today it would continue to exercise its sovereign rights, including through satellite launches.
Now over to New Zealand. The country is set to make English its official language. The new government, led by right-leaning Prime Minister Christopher Luxon, was sworn in today.
The new government said it will legislate English as the country's primary official language. English is currently the most spoken language in New Zealand. Meanwhile, Maori has special status under the law as an official language.
Under former Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, the use of Maori terms in official settings increased. The new rule is expected to require all public service departments and crown entities to have English primary names and communicate in English.
Parliament is set to open next week in New Zealand. China, South Korea, and Japan are planning to restart a trilateral summit. This is after a 4-year hiatus and amid growing tensions in the region. Let's hear from Senior Fellow at the Center for Security Policy, Grant Newsham, about the summit still in the planning and the dynamics between these three countries. Grant Newsham, thank you for joining us. Why are these three countries interested in restarting this summit now?
Oh, partly because that's what foreign ministries do. I think they like to be talking to people, and I think that's really the motivation behind it. I don't know that anyone in Korea or Japan had particularly high hopes for it. One never quite knows what the Chinese think, but it's what foreign ministries do. The reality of it is that there wasn't likely to be any real huge outcomes from this that changed the fundamental relationship between South Korea and Japan and China. And it's more than a three-way sort of relationship. I think it really is best looked at as what do China and Japan think of China? What do Korea and Japan think of China? And what is China trying to do to those countries? And that's usually pretty predictable.
Now, the three countries took a hiatus from this summit that they're talking about over the past 4 years. Why did they take that hiatus in the first place?
Oh, it was mostly COVID related, but not entirely. The relationship between Japan and China has just gotten worse. It was never very good, but it has gotten noticeably worse. Between South Korea and China, there's a sort of a difficulty there, I'll put it that way. The previous South Korean regime was actually more pro-China than pro-America, and some would say more pro-China than pro-South Korea. That regime left about 1.5 years ago. So the current regime has a more sensible view of things and sees where South Korea's interest lies. So partly COVID, partly just the nature of the relationship between the countries.
Okay, and how have the factors affecting the trilateral relations between these three countries changed over the past 4 years? And how is that likely to affect their relations going forward?
Well, the Chinese have just been increasingly aggressive. It's not that they weren't already, but they have leaned in hard on South Korea and on Japan. The encroachments on Japanese waters, airspace have just nonstop, and they've increased. Same thing goes with South Korea. There's economic difficulties in terms of trade between the countries. Chinese fishermen go everywhere and vacuum the oceans, and nobody likes this. So it's fundamentally a very difficult relationship between Japan and China and South Korea and China, and it's just gotten marginally worse, and it was never very good to start with, and there's really no sign that that's going to change.
Got it. Now, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida shifted to an assertive stance toward the CCP at the APEC summit earlier this month. How could that affect trilateral relations between Japan, South Korea, and China going forward?
Well, I think the trilateral relations between these three countries, there's a real there's a limit to how good they can ever get. And until the Chinese regime changes or changes its behavior, I just don't see that happening. And South Korea and the Japanese are well aware of this, and they're doing what they can to protect themselves. In Kishida's case, what you do notice is that, he's not the first prime minister to assert Japan's interests quietly if necessary. That all started with Prime Minister Abe, and each of his successors have. But what I think the real significance is when you look at the trilateral relationship between Korea, Japan, and China, there's a limit, as I said, but what the Chinese have managed to do is something no American administration has succeeded at, and that is to get the Japanese and the South Koreans to actually sort of cooperate and basically join a trilateral relationship. It's limited, military relationship with the United States. And thank you, Xi Jinping, for accomplishing that. Nobody thought it could be done, but it has been done. There's limits, and it's limited to military issues, but nonetheless, it's a significant development because of the difficulties in that trilateral relationship involving China.
Yeah. All right, Grant Newsham, thank you very much for your time.
Well, thanks very much for having me.
Coming up in college football, Michigan's Jim Harbaugh is looking for his third straight conference title, but is his job in jeopardy? NTD's Dave Martin joins us in the studio to discuss.
And a longtime Parkinson's patient can now walk without falling thanks to a new implant. How does the treatment work? More shortly here on NTD News Today.
We all know that words have power. They set things in motion
and make us happy or sad.
But there's one word that stands out because when people say it, lives are changed.
It's not a big word.
It's itsy bitsy.
It's only 3 little letters.
But when you say it,
the life of a kid like me can be changed.
So, what is this special word?
It may surprise you.
It's yes.
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 Yes to becoming a monthly supporter of Shriners Hospitals for Children.
That's right. Your monthly support allows the doctors and nurses at Shriners Hospitals for Children to give the most amazing care anywhere and change the lives of kids like me.
And me. And me.
Because people like you have said yes. Now I can play football.
And I can play catch.
And I can walk.
So what do you say? Will you say yes right now?
It's so easy.
All you have to do is pick up the phone or go to loveshriners.org right now and say yes. When you say yes to giving just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a reminder of all the kids you're helping every day. My life is filled with possibility because of the monthly support of people just like you who called the number on your screen and said yes.
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 Your yes is making a difference in my life and the lives of so many other kids like me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving.
Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, call again or go to loveshriners.org to say yes right away.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Days Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Days Enzyme Fermented Coffee.
Fostering a pet for a friend or neighbor can keep families together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
And now for your sports news, we welcome NTD's Dave Martin. Let's start with college football, Dave. How does Ohio State's loss to Michigan affect the playoffs?
Well, because it was such a close loss, it's really going to give the committee some pause into how far they're going to drop them. Now, I think Michigan and Georgia will be 1 and 2. Washington will definitely be 3, it seems like. Where it gets interesting is 4. You know, Florida State, they are the 4th unbeaten, but their star quarterback is out for the season. Do they put a 1-loss Ohio State team ahead of them? It really forces the committee to decide whether they're going to look at their full season resume or if they're going to base this on who they think would win if they played today. Now, this is the next to last ranking, so it's not final, but if Florida State loses this weekend, I think the committee would catch a huge break.
Okay, now looking at the other side of that game, Dave, you know, Michigan's head coach, Jim Harbaugh, has now served his three-game suspension, and that was actually the second of his 2 suspensions this year. What do you think his job status is?
Well, if history is any indication, the school will kind of just look away and stand behind their coach. Generally speaking, being caught or having allegations of breaking competition rules only usually gets a coach fired if he's not successful on the field. Harbaugh has been very successful on the field. I think they're 37-3 over the past 3 seasons. If they win Saturday, that'll be their 3rd straight Big Ten title. That's outstanding. Also, it seems like the scandal was limited to some coaches on his staff, like maybe didn't really know about it. It's kind of unclear on that. It's usually those embarrassing off-the-field scandals, like that maybe involve like sexual allegations or something. Those are usually the ones that get the coaches fired. Now, whether Harbaugh decides to come back next season or not, though, might be another story.
And in the NFL, Dave, the Eagles beat the Bills yesterday in what some like you previously thought could be a Super Bowl preview. But the Bills are at just 6-6. Do you still consider them a favorite?
Yes, I do. I know they have an average record, but they still have the 2nd biggest point differential in the AFC. Now, they've just lost so many close games, though. Yesterday's was another, but it was against probably the best team in the NFL. Philadelphia is 10-1. I mean, they're playing great. Now, I have dropped Cincinnati from my list because Joe Burrow is out for the season with an injury. But Buffalo, they still have Josh Allen at the quarterback. As long as you have him, I think you definitely have a shot. And they're really only half a game out of the playoffs currently. Now, one team I'm adding here is Baltimore. I will grant that they do not have that difficult of a strength of schedule. John Harbaugh, Jim's brother, he is a great coach. As long as Lamar Jackson remains healthy, I think they obviously have a great shot.
All right, thanks so much for your update, as always, Dave.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
A longtime Parkinson's patient now walks without falling.
He was the first person to receive a new Swiss-designed implant, which has dramatically improved his ability to walk. Let's take a look.
Parkinson's disease patient Marc Goutier was confined to his house due to debilitating mobility issues. But it all changed after he became the first person to receive a new Swiss-designed implant.
It changed my life because now I can leave my home, run errands. I even go on foot to exercise.
Parkinson's is a degenerative neurological disease that causes symptoms such as tremors, stiffness, and difficulty with balance and coordination. Global estimates showed more than 8.5 million people suffered from the disease in 2019. 63-year-old Gautier received a neuroprosthetic composed of an electrode field placed against his spinal cord, combined with an electrical impulse generator under the skin of his abdomen. The device stimulates his spinal cord to activate his leg muscles. Dr. Grégoire Courtine of the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Lausanne co-led the project.
The technology is a neurostimulator that delivers precise pulses of electricity to the region of the spinal cord involved in the control of leg muscles. And the pulses are delivered at the correct location with the correct timing in order to reproduce the way the spinal cord is activated naturally in order to walk.
Courtine said the electrical pulses delivered to Gautier's spinal cord reproduced the way he would walk naturally. The implant, designed by Netherlands-based tech company called Onward Medical, is unique in its ability to target the spinal cord in a specific and flexible way. The findings suggest the technology could be used more widely in advanced Parkinson's patients. Neurosurgeon Rosalynn Bloch carried out the surgery on Gautier.
With this therapy, if people can gain more confidence and can go out and have a better social interaction and do more things, it's an enormous plus in the daily activity and the quality of life.
The end of fall offers a golden opportunity to tidy up before the bundled up winter season. Decluttering your home can help you to clear your mind and enjoy your living space.
Here's Gina Marie from Strong Mind and Body with some tips to get started.
Before the holiday season ramps up, it's a good time to assess your space and rid your home of excess items. This will reset your environment to enjoy all that the season has to offer. Here are a few simple decluttering tips to guide you. Number 1, one room at a time. The idea of decluttering your home can be overwhelming. Break it down into more manageable pieces by first going room by room. Of course, some people prefer to go at it in one marathon decluttering spree. If that's you, go for it, but add a few more hours than you think it's going to take. Number 2, keep, toss, or give. The process of decluttering can be kept simple by limiting your decisions to only 3 possibilities: keep, toss, or give. As you go through your belongings, refrain from rearranging the furniture, redecorating, or repairing things at the same time. This will prevent you from expanding the scope of your efforts. Number 3, immediate removal. At the conclusion of each decluttering session, be sure to remove the trash and donation bags from your home. If you can get to your donation location immediately, do so. Otherwise, at least get them in the trunk of the car and out of your space. This will allow you to fully enjoy the progress you are making. Number 4, progress over perfection. Keep your spirits up as you go by focusing on progress, not perfection. Some of us tend to envision Instagram perfect spaces when we take on home projects. The reality as you go about decluttering may not necessarily match such high ideals. Rather than aiming for perfection, celebrate each bit of progress. And finally, picture how great it will be to finally invite family and friends for holiday festivities. Imagine how much easier navigating the upcoming busy season will be when you're not bogged down with clutter.
Now check out this video of a deer apparently getting a jump on some Black Friday shopping. Police in Rockland, Maine responded to an alarm call at a local store on Thanksgiving. Officers were expected to find a burglar or intruder, but instead they found this white-tailed deer running around, knocking things over and causing mayhem.
The deer had apparently smashed through a large front glass window to get in. Store managers helped police herd the deer outside. Officers say the animal wasn't seriously injured. NASA might soon be able to probe deeper into space and find out more about the origin of the universe, thanks to a new laser communications technology. The laser is embedded in the Psyche spacecraft. It will be the most distant experiment of high-bandwidth laser communications. It just sent back its first data from beyond the moon, a big milestone for the project. The laser can send data at 10 to 100 times the speed of traditional radio wave systems used by NASA. If it's successful, the technology could be used to communicate with humans exploring Mars. The Psyche spacecraft is currently traveling to catch the first glimpse of a metal asteroid between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. It will spend the next 6 years traveling to reach its final destination, the outer part of the main asteroid belt. And if your goal is to be true to yourself, then you're in step with the word of the year, which is authentic. Merriam-Webster says there has always been a high volume of lookups for the word, but there was a substantial increase in 2023. Regarding the uptick in searches, the online dictionary cites stories about artificial intelligence, celebrity culture, identity, social media, and even Taylor Swift. Some of the meanings of authentic include not false or imitation, and true to one's own personality, spirit, or character.
Other top words for the year include deep fake, coronation, dystopian, and riz, which means romantic appeal or charm. Last year's word of the year was gaslighting. That's all for today's news.
Thank you for tuning in.
Feel free to reach out to us with any news tips or feedback at news.today@ntd.com.
And we'll be back with more stories tomorrow.